Hey there, wonderful humans. Welcome back to Board Game Dads to another Kickstarter Day, which is a holiday that Eric and I made up because we love holidays and board games. And the best part about it is it can be any day that we want because we made it up. And in fact, today is an extra special episode because, as you can see, we have not one but two very special guests. Evan and Missy, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Glad to have you guys here on Kickstarter Day. I will say that if you check out Evan and Missy stuff over on Evan Diesel's channel, they have been doing an ongoing Kickstarter series of their own. You guys want to briefly talk about what that's about?
We have.
Well,
Go ahead.
It's just he's basically going back through his Kickstarter history and in order and showing me all the games that he backed, and we're remembering them and not remembering some of them.
Yeah. And how much I paid for them, and
yes,
how many times we played them over these past 5-6 years.
Maybe once, maybe zero.
Yeah. Well, I was looking for something to do since Grayson is back in school. Something we could do together, and then something that I could get out on a regular basis, because that's always a struggle for my channel.
Okay.
So this way I can do a weekly show.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I don't know of anybody else that's actually doing that type of series, to be honest.
Admittedly, I did steal it from the Dice Tower, because Town Vassal did sort of a look back
that doesn't count.
of his own.
Yeah, but not on a Kickstarter.
I mean, at some point, everything you do is going to be something that the Dice Tower did.
Yeah. So, every time I come up with like a top 10 list, like, oh, we should do that. And then the Dice Tower does them. Like, now we have to wait like 6 months at least before we can do this. Because
well,
what are you gonna do?
Well, what are you gonna do? They're the giants, and we're the little people. But that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about a few games today. In fact, we've got 4 Kickstarter games lined up to chat with you all about. These are pretty recently delivered, and they range from nature themed to scary themed and everything in between. So we're going to kick things off here with a beautiful looking game, I must say, that I had actually not heard of until you guys sent me those pictures. So I'm very interested to hear about The Gardens.
Yeah, cool. So, you did post a picture of the box. Good, because I did not take a picture of that. It just occurred to me. So The Gardens is like, because Grail Games, the company that makes this game, is an Australian company. So, like, it's about the Queen's Gardens in Australia. So, like, right there is like the Sydney Opera House, right in the front of the box. And basically, it's like a drafting game where you're placing the cards, which are the tiles, onto your board to build out your version of the garden, right? And there's variable scoring. So there's scoring that you do during the game, and then scoring you do at the end of the game. Basically, everyone's going to fill up their grid using these cards.
Those are the landmark cards.
Those are the picture you're showing right now is the landmark cards, which are actual landmarks. That right there has the scoring tiles on it and the scoreboard. And the scoreboard, So those scoring tiles change every time.
Okay.
So it'll be a different sort of game every time.
There's advanced and basic ones.
Advanced and basic, yeah.
But the advanced is pretty basic.
So did you guys just kind of jump in with the advanced ones from the get-go?
Yes. And I should also say that there is Kickstarter exclusive pieces too, like those all the wooden meeples for the landmarks, and those statues ones, and the pilot statues. The first player marker, those are all upgraded with the Kickstarter version. But this is a Kickstarter show, right? So throw them in there. So you're drafting cards. Like you can see there's three piles there, and they each go in a certain row on your garden board. I think there's a picture of a finished board there somewhere. Right there. That was my finished board the other night. So you basically, just filling those up and then trying to get all of the scoring you possibly can. Because sometimes it's not always easy, because there's points for like connected paths and how many, like the statues.
Right.
And what was the other one?
Well, what Grayson went away with when we played this game was the
streams. Yeah.
If you had a connected stream all the way down, that was 5 points. If you had 2 connected, that was 2. So he got all the water cards,
Yeah,
which drove me crazy.
Yeah, he got
every
the-
time I was trying to get a card, no, denied. And so he went crazy with streams, and I believe he lapped us in points at one point in time.
Yeah.
Wow.
The statues are end game scoring, so I caught up towards the end anyway.
Yes. Yeah, you had the most statues for sure.
Right. So it's a pretty simple game, right? And not really anything you haven't played before.
Sure.
The one hook is that when you place a card, your meeple walks to it.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally you want to put them on either side of your starting spot, which is like the little strip down there in the middle. So then they're scoring based on like what you passed, or what you land on.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess that's the hook for this game.
Right.
Man, does everybody get one of those wooden opera house things too?
Those are the landmarks. So if you cover it first, then you get it.
Okay.
So it depends on what board you have, because basically you choose the two boards at the beginning.
Yeah, so there's variable board setup also.
And there's variable landmarks on those boards, and those were the landmarks for our game. So once the first person to cover up that landmark got the card and the thing, and the card had, and I believe the City Opera House has 10 points or some other power.
Yeah, right. So each of those landmark cards can score differently. You can either flip it over for just like a base points. Like, yeah, the Opera House was 10, or if you flip it the other way, it has like an ongoing scoring. So I think you needed to make paths with loops in it to score the Opera House.
Right.
So you can either decide, can I do that in the future, or should I just take the base points?
Right,
So,
but you have to decide when you take the card.
When you take the card,
yeah,
and you
can't change it at the end.
Yep.
I like the artwork in that one. That looked
It is
really
cool.
nice.
Great.
Yep.
One of the problems with the artwork that I did find, though, is that the statues tend to get lost. So I had a statue and I didn't even realize it for like 2 turns.
I thought it was a tree.
Yeah, it was it looked like it was part of the tree, and I'm like, oh. And then I think Grayson had one that and it actually ruined his statue scoring because he didn't place it, like the scoring that we had out was
it had to not be any other statues around it.
Yes, orthogonally.
Right.
And so he accidentally got one because he didn't notice the statue on the card.
Got it.
So that's not the only issue with the game.
Yeah.
What were the components before the Kickstarter upgrade? Because those wooden statues look nice.
Yeah, they are nice. It's just the cards.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I can imagine scoring the statues would be harder if you don't have that statue, because you have to pick out that on the statue on the card.
Yep.
You have to notice it in the artwork. That's weird.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Huh. The other issue is on those scoring tiles.
Right.
There is some mistakes.
Yes. It could have used a little time in the cooker, a bit more in rules wise for being such an easy game and such a large rule book, but it's just a beautiful rule book. And not the information that is necessary, but like the iconography is the problem. Like they have an arrow going one way, but it actually should, in my opinion, be going the other way. So like the examples on the scoring tiles were like examples that couldn't ever happen during the game. Yes. Like it was impossible for that example I know. So because you're walking down the path and stopping on the card that you just placed. Right. But in the examples, it shows cards on the other side of that, which could never happen.
It wouldn't be there.
And you're like, and then like a score like attached to the card that is impossible. So I'm like,
like that's not no.
And there were some questions on Board Game Geek about it. The designer, or I think somebody from the company mentioned, and it wasn't like the greatest resolution.
No, it's just like, oh, that image shouldn't be there.
I guess. Like, like that was the answer. So I still enjoyed it. It took her a little bit longer to kind of get over some of those issues.
Yeah, sure. I can get stuck on some things, as you mentioned.
I get stuck on brain things too. Like I got you.
And then it was also one of those games where Grayson just saw the Matrix and like just ruined us.
Yeah,
like, he knew exactly what to do every single time.
Yes,
just this.
That is both awesome and annoying at the same time.
Right. The scoreboard goes to 50, and he went around it twice.
Yeah, he had like 112 points.
Yeah.
We had, I think we were in the 80s at the end. So.
Yeah, I still came in last because, like I said, like he said, I couldn't get over the one thing, and it was just like, but and like focusing on, I want to focus on trying to make a path, but those cards do not come up very often, and and you have to take the cards, and you either have to put it over here on this side or they're there. And then one thing you had a problem with is that you realized it was if you didn't even it out.
Right. Because if you build all the way to one side, then you only have one direction to walk.
Yeah.
So and that limits your scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to mention that it did come with a roll and write game too that we have not played yet.
Yeah, we haven't played it yet.
So I've heard mixed things about this, but we haven't tried that one yet.
It's interesting because to your point about the issues, and Missy, you said like maybe they could have used a little more time. It's got to be a hard decision, I guess, to make because these people want to get this stuff out by a certain time, right? But at the same time, it's like, don't worry about including a whole second game in your campaign.
Right.
Like make this one really good. Have that as a follow-up. Save that for another Kickstarter. But again, we talk about
save it for the reprint, like
however,
add this on,
I hope that roll and write makes up for the bad rule book and the bad rules in the other game.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
Don't know yet.
Well, gorgeous looking game for sure.
Yes.
And Eric's pick coming up here is equally as pretty, I think. And some, again, these are Kickstarter things, but this just goes to show you what you get for your value sometimes. So Eric, what do you got for our Kickstarter Day pick?
We got Endless Winter Paleoamericans.
Endless Americans.
Endless Americans.
Oh no, Endless Americans.
So Endless Winter Paleoamericans. This game is really big right now. It's really hot. It was designed by Stan Kordonsky and published by Fantasia Games. And so I backed it. I did not get. They also had like a player mat, like a giant kind of rollout board. I didn't get that, but otherwise it came with these 3 expansions over here on the side. I'll talk about them later. So in this game, it's basically 10,000 BC, and you have a tribe of Paleoamericans, and you're trying to survive by hunting food, putting out camps and moving them around, and basically just building up your tribe, which is your deck. So you got some deck building, and you got some worker placement. There's hand management, resource management. There's some set collection later on. There's a bunch of different mechanisms in the game, but really it's primarily deck building and worker placement. And so there's, I guess, technically at the end of the day, you just want the most victory points by the end of the game to be the winner.
Sure.
Like that's pretty much all games. So there's going to be 4 rounds, and each round you get 3 actions or 3 worker actions. And there's 4 main actions in the game. So in this picture on the top left, those symbols on the, like right in the bottom middle, the 4 symbols, those are your 4 actions. There's also a rest action you can do. And each of these 4 actions has 3 different sections. So when you go there, you're going to do the top section. You can do that however many times you want, as long as you have the resources in the cards that you're playing to do that. Then you do the middle section, which you can only do once. And then if you're the first person there, you get to do that bottom action as well. So you kind of want to race and, be the first person so you get all 3 of those actions. But sometimes you don't necessarily want to do something else. Like just to get there first, maybe you don't need that. And then, somebody else can send a worker to the same place and they don't get that bottom action. So on your turn, you're going to choose one of these 4 actions, move your worker there, play out, a certain amount of cards, and then you do all your actions, and the next player goes. Once you've done your 3rd action, then you hit what's called the eclipse phase, where you're going to get bonus points and resources and things based on a number of different conditions. If you have any cards left in your hand with like the eclipse symbol, you can play them and get certain bonuses and things. And then everyone gains a different bonus based on their turn order. And then you get parts, different stuff for certain areas on your player board that if you have them covered, you gain all these new things. And you do 4 rounds of this where you play out your 3 actions and you get your eclipse stuff. And that's basically it. So the 4 main actions that you can do, you can like add a tribe member card to your hand. So, it's a deck building game. So you want to add more cards to your hand. You can gain a culture card, which are the cards pictured on the bottom left. Actually, the first game that we played of this, I didn't buy a single culture card until like the last round as like kind of a wasted action, and I did just fine. So, the more we get into this game, the more I'll be able to talk about that. But they'll do a variety of different things. It never happened for me on my turn. But they'll do things like, spend one of these resources and get these 2 other things. And, they could be very helpful. So you can also go hunting, which on the bottom right picture, there's those 2 tracks over there. There's a lot of different little boards in this game to keep track of. So I took like a little picture of each of them and I sort of just threw it up there. But the bottom right picture on the left has got the animals. So all these like prehistoric animals, you can, catch them. And then if you don't kill and eat them, you can save them at the end. You get 4 points for set collection. Otherwise, you could just eat them and gain, like tools from their bones or a bunch of food if you kill a woolly mammoth.
Wow.
Sorry, it's funny.
Yeah. And so this game took us over 2 hours to learn.
Cool. Yeah.
It's got
Wow.
tons of little rules, but the little rules are very cohesive and easy to understand. As you're reading them, you're going through them, you're like, oh, so this works like that? Well, what if I do this? And then, it still works like that. Okay, that makes sense. So like, it's not like there's certain things where you're like, oh, I don't really understand. Everything was really, really smooth.
Okay.
And so that was nice.
Cool.
But if we don't get this game to the table for like another 4 or 5 months, we're going to have to relearn the whole thing. It's a huge table presence. It's a big endeavor, but we really liked it. It was a really cool game. So real quick, let me just go over some of these other boards over here. So there's like this hexagon map over here. So one of the actions that you can do is when you're putting out your camps and moving them around, and then you're moving them around on that, and then you can gain, during the eclipse phase, certain things if you have the most influence in an area. And then you got the thing in the top right, which is, I don't know, the megalith board. It's just another part of the game that you can put stuff in and get stuff, and it's like I said, there's a ton of little stuff, but you have really, really cool little recessed player boards, and all the components are amazing for this game.
Oh, nice.
So there's you get your food tracker, and there's also tents that you put on here, and it works really well. It's got nice components, everything fits, and there's a ton of bonus content. So let me show you some of the expansions real quick. So there's one called Rivers and Rafts, and it's got these little wooden pieces, like a little ice cave, a cool little volcano, a nice little tree, and they all, I don't know, they do something. We haven't played with it yet. And then there's this black shiny plastic obelisk. It doesn't really fit in so well with the rest of them. But so that one in that hexagon map, you're going to be having certain things, like basically there's going to be a river going through it. So that's just, I don't know, going to have a river going through it, whatever that adds. Then there's another one with Ancestor. It's called Ancestors. I forget what's in that. And then there's something called Ancestor. That's true. Probably just more cards. And then this one, which we also haven't played, this is Cave Paintings. And these are actually little boards that you're going to be writing on with markers.
Oh, that's neat.
So after all this, like deck building, resource management, you add in some of these expansions, and you're just adding a whole new little board to add.
Oh,
and then
wow.
You're circling whatever once you fill something in completely, like around the whatever, then you gain that bonus, and it's just
amazing.
I can't wait to play it again.
That's a lot of stuff.
That is a lot of stuff, and I hate when a game has a lot of stuff. Like, it sounds great, but then just trying to get that game to the table more often and have to remember
you chose all that stuff. You chose all that stuff.
I did. I backed it. I backed it because it was winter, right? Like, if it snows out, we're like, ooh, what's a good game to play? Well, this is going to hit the table because we're like, we got to play Endless Winter. I spent like $90 on it. We played it once. So we'll definitely play this one again. But we really liked it. It was a really good game. Whatever you're doing, I got a whole bunch of animals, and I just kept on, and I ate some of them, obviously. And my wife was like, she was focused on a different part. She was getting culture cards and doing some other stuff. And I was just getting a ton of points, but so is she doing, just two completely different kind of things. I guess, is that like a sandboxy kind of game?
Ish, or like point salad, I guess you could probably call that.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Different, all different things that give you points, right?
But yeah, there was a lot going on. We both had a blast. And
So with the animal thing, so when you take that animal or when you hunt the animal, do you have to decide right then and there if you're gonna kill it and eat it?
no, he just like hangs out with your tribe, and then one day when you're like, oh no, I'm sorry. There's a certain action that there's a certain symbol that when you play a card or go somewhere or do some other thing or whatever, it'll allow you to eat an animal, just like turn the card sideways.
Okay.
So
But you
like
don't
it's
have
on
to.
one of
You
the.
can keep it for set collection points if you want.
You can absolutely not have to do that. But yeah, it's that symbol is on some cards. It's on some of the one of the action spaces. So you have to go there. When you go to the action space and you hunt an animal, you can right then and there. Yes, you can decide if you want to eat that one or eat any of the ones that you already have.
Okay.
But that's the time to do it. Like when you go to that action, otherwise you're wasting that action.
Yeah. Well, like you
Or
said, there's
part
a
of
lot going on. You like that winter backdrop, but you also like those survival type games. And this is not being abandoned on a desert island kind of survival, but it's, surviving the winter and keeping your people alive and stuff. So
I do want to say about the artwork. A lot of the artwork in this looks really cool.
Is it the same as the Architect
It is,
series?
yeah. I believe so.
That's what I was
I'm
saying.
not
Architect,
sure.
the West Kingdom. I believe
the
so.
faces look very
Yeah.
similar to me. That's
Okay.
why I thought
you're
that.
right. Yeah.
But every once in a while, there's a little piece of artwork that's just stupid looking. Like, if you go back and you look at, I don't know if you can zoom in on the slides, but if you go back and you look at the animals, and you're like, oh, that's a cool woolly mammoth, and oh, a saber-toothed cat or whatever, and then you look at that pink thing and look at his stupid face.
Is it a beaver? What is that thing?
It's some sort of like beaver, badger. I don't know. It's got like a scientific name, probably.
Yeah.
I kept calling them burgers. I don't remember why, but like because I kept eating them, so they were like beaver burgers. But if you could zoom in on that picture, and I'm not sure if you can.
I don't think I can.
His face just looks stupid.
I'll take your word for it.
So everything else looks cool, but every once in a while you get a card or piece of artwork, and you're just like, eh.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Cool.
That was one of the issues with the gardens too. Actually, is like some of the meeples did not match the artwork for the landmarks at all.
Oh yeah.
Well. Yeah, it wasn't anything like too big, but we're like, which one is this?
Right.
But
yeah. Again, the more stuff that goes into your game, the more chances you have of that stuff happening, right? Especially if you have a Kickstarter where you have stretch goals and you're like adding stuff throughout the campaign.
Right.
There's no guarantee that you're going to get everything synced up that way. So that's an issue that definitely comes up. Cool. So that is Endless Winter Paleoamericans. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the rivers and rafts expansion, the cave paintings and all that stuff. There's a whole bunch of little modules too. I didn't bother looking for pictures of them and putting them on the thing.
Next year. All right, so my pick also features animals, but you do not eat them in this game. And the artwork is pretty phenomenal as well. This one is Keystone, North America, which could imply that there'll be a Keystone other continent in the future. You never know, just speculation. But this is from a pretty much a relatively new publishing company called Rose Gauntlet. Designers here is Jeffrey Joyce along with Isaac Vega. And we've got art by Iram Earbeeler, Alyssa Minold, and Jan Tamba. Now, in Keystone, North America, and this kind of sounds similar to, at least in part, to the Gardens game you guys were talking about earlier, where you do have your own player board that's a grid, and you're going to be adding these square card tiles to your board. Basically, and I'll point out again that the player mat you see here is part of the Kickstarter, deluxe version. I don't always go all in on Kickstarters. I just try to play it safe most of the time, but every once in a while I like to pull the trigger, and this one just looked awesome. So nice neoprene mat here for all the cards and little bits and things like that. So basically in this game you're going to be drafting from the available animals that are along the bottom there. And if you take one, like the one all the way to the right, it's free. But if you want something else down the line, you got to put what they call synergy tokens, essentially currency, on them to skip over some stuff, which makes it more valuable for another player to pick that one because they're going to get those tokens as well. But basically, all you're doing in this game is trying to put a grid together with numerical numbers. Then the animals go from 1 up to 5. So you're trying to make, rows and columns that are in specifically ascending numerical order, which seems simple enough. But there's a lot of other stuff going on. So you're really trying to make in these rows and columns, they call them in the rulebook, it's an ecosystem. And the more synergy you have in the ecosystem, the better you'll score, both at the end of the game and with those tokens and things like that. So if you place an initial animal anywhere you want on the board, from that point on, you don't have to play adjacent to that. But if you do, and those animals happen to share a similar habitat, which will be on the card symbols as well, you'll gain some of those synergy tokens, which are the acorn currency type things. So that's what you're doing on your turn. You're either taking an animal card from the selection there and putting it on your board, or the other thing you can do is take some of these special actions, which if you can see in the middle of the player board, there's 5 of them available during the game, and it comes with extras. You kind of mix them up or whatnot. So, the whole placing the animals on your board on a grid in some kind of an order is certainly not a revolutionary mechanic by any means. But these actions that you can pick are pretty cool because they all start on this active side. And if you choose to do one of them, you do whatever's on there, and then you flip it over to the opposite side to show that it's been exhausted. But on any future turn, you can choose to take all of the exhausted actions, which are a little less good than the initial part. But that's going to also move that time tracker down to progress towards the end of the game a little bit. So I thought it was an interesting mechanic. I personally hadn't seen that, I don't think, in another type of game to allow you to kind of do that. And those actions let you do things like switch some of the animals around on your board if you want to try to get them in a better spot and things like that. So again, in terms of mechanics, there's not anything crazy revolutionary here, but the artwork is just absolutely phenomenal. Every card is gorgeous. The symbology is easy. You can see on that bumblebee card there, the left, those 4 things are the different habitats. So, for example, if you place that bumblebee next to that turtle that's on the right to it, they both share that desert habitat. That would gain you one of those tokens. But if it also matched up with the bottom one, which it does, that grouse has that foresty one, you're going to get a token from that too. So you want to try to take advantage of that stuff. In addition to those symbols, there's also in the bottom right, each animal kind of belongs to one season, so to speak. Now, those are not going to score you points while you put them down, but at end game, you have a secret objective card that you've been working on that wants you to set up things in a certain kind of pattern on your board, and that's where those come in. There's also some animals that are tagged. They have a tag symbol on them. A lot of symbology, a little overwhelming at first, but talking about rule books, I think the rule book for this game was pretty good. I love when, and again, Missy and Evan, you talked about the scoring examples and how they were unfathomable in the Gardens one. What I like about the Keystone rulebook is they show you a scoring example and they keep it consistent throughout other illustrations. So yes, it's this person's turn again. Remember they did this? Well, here's what happens at the end of the game with their stuff that they made. So I really appreciate that. That's really all there is to the game. At the end of the game, like I said, you're going to score for every ecosystem you made, either rows and columns. Whatever one you have the most of, you'll get maximum points. Oh, the other symbol here is, and the namesake of the game, the Keystone symbol, which you can see the alligator has here. That's going to basically let you score that ecosystem again. So you could possibly get 2 or 3 times the points if you have more than one of those Keystone animals. Thematically, the Keystone species is integral, as the name implies, that if they were not part of an ecosystem, kind of ecologically all hell would break loose, so to speak, in terms of the animal kingdom. So that's a cool little thematic thing that they put in there as well. Now, Missy and Evan, I know you have this game as well.
We do.
We do.
And I'll ask you what your thoughts in a minute, but I have in keeping up with everybody else here one complaint. And that's the Acorn tokens, the synergy tokens, and I didn't take a close up of them. They are double-sided.
Yes.
But one side is the number 1, and the other side is the number 3, which is really confusing.
Yeah.
I think, right? Like, I fumble a lot with like mental math, just as a thing in games in general. But like, when you're trying to like exchange 3 for 1, you're like, oh, what? Don't move that one. Just turn it over and then take 2 more ones. And then it's like if you accidentally because I like to fiddle with stuff. Too.
Yeah.
Any kind of money in a game, I'm going to be like constantly piling up or moving it around in my fingers. You can go from having 3 to 9, synergy points here just by accident, which I thought that was questionable. Double-sided, sure, but different values, I think would have been the way to go.
Right. So when we played it in hard mode because we forgot about the adjacency getting synergy for the matching. So we were earning our synergy that way, but we were like, why would you ever play with anything other than 1?
Right. That's funny.
I'm trading this for this. Why would I ever do anything different?
Oops.
Oops. But I was looking. I'm like, what can I replace these with? Like, how can I upgrade these?
Yeah.
I agree.
There's some nice Acorn tokens in the game Momiji.
I'll have to look at those.
So if you get it and you don't like the game, scrap
I
it.
was like looking at it going, what won't roll?
Yeah.
Like
for an Acorn.
Yeah, because I need them to stay here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Hey, well, I have 2 questions. Did you get the wooden upgraded tokens for those?
No.
Because they're exactly the same, except wooden. It's the exact same picture. They're just slightly thicker and they're made out of wood.
Yeah.
Like, okay, want an upgrade.
We didn't get it either.
We didn't get it either. And the other question is, have you played with more than 2 people?
I have not.
Yeah, because I noticed in a 2-player game, like half the cards come out of the deck. It's like it was maybe even more than half.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, because a lot of the actions that you can pick from that middle part are going to affect you either adding or taking cards from the discard pile as well, which I thought was interesting. But
I don't think we had those ones. We had the one where you got 8 synergy. That's what the one we used the most because we messed up the...
I didn't even look at them. I just took the top 5 and put them down on the board. One little horror story. This hasn't really happened yet with 2 children, but my son AJ loves, he's got his own games, but he likes to play our games sometimes. And he was playing. I had Keystone out because I was setting it up for that night, and he was playing with the action skill tiles, which are nice, thick cardboard, rectangular pieces. He was looking at the numbers, trying to put them in order or whatnot. I left to go and get my daughter upstairs, who had just woken up.
Oh no!
And I came back down, and he's like, "Daddy, this is the next part. You got to take the cards." And I'm like, "Uh-oh." And he's holding one of the cards, but like circularly holding it.
Oh,
I was like, no. I was like, of all the games, like I went all in on the deluxe copy. You could have like messed up Patchwork Doodle or some crap like that. But I couldn't get mad. It was my own fault that I left it unsupervised with the game, and it wasn't. It is what it is. It was one card. It's the alligator, so the alligator has a slight crease in it. It is what it is.
Stick it under some heavy boxes.
Yeah. But overall, this game is really cool. I like the look of it, and again, I appreciate the fact that it's nothing, Eric, compared to what you're talking about with Endless Winter. It's a lot of stuff. This is like 2 things that you're really doing, and they're things that we've seen in many other games before. That's Keystone North America. Really enjoy it, and I hope there are some expansions someday, because just adding new animal cards would be something that would be easy to do. And again, if they stick with that artwork, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
It's beautiful.
Cool.
All right,
nice, relaxing game, I think.
It is. It's very relaxing. It's puzzly enough though, because again, you want to get the most out of your rows and columns, and you're like,
It's
I thought
tough.
that one-
Yeah, looking at all those symbols, and this one
I
needs to
need
go
the
here. This one needs to
specific
go
card
here.
to come up.
Yeah.
I need sunshine
Yeah.
and fall.
That's
Like-
what happened. Neither one of us there were no like number 3s coming up. So like we were
Right.
never like getting that middle part. I should add there are a couple of wild cards that you can buy that
They're
cost you
expensive,
10.
though.
Yeah, they're 10
Yeah.
synergy.
Mhm.
Well, just football your ones over to 3s and you'll be fine. That basically can count as any number. Plus, it can be a different number when you're scoring the column or the row, which I thought was cool. So you're not like locked into it. But yeah, there were multiple times when we were playing the game when one of us were just like, "Man, this is hard." It's hard. It's got that feeling. It's like Sagrada, where like you really need that specific thing to fill in your column or row, and if you don't get it, you're just you're screwed.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got one more game here, and I say this one for last because it is the most Halloween-y with spooky season upon us. I know Evan and Missy, you guys are big fans. Eric's got his shirt on. There you go. All right, so our last game here is called Don't Go In There.
Don't go in there.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, so in this game, you're little kids exploring the haunted house. I believe you're dared to. And you have to be first player, you have to say some Latin words. Ego sum primus ludio.
You have to say that 3 times.
3 times, chant it.
That sounds weird. I bet you there's some kind of underground cult that wants you to say that stuff out loud.
You could probably just, pick randomly. But so yeah, the box becomes a dice tower, which is really cool. It has a magnetic clasp and comes apart. But the premise is that you're little kids, you're dared to go into the haunted house, and once you do, you're cursed. You get 1 curse, and then to get out of the house, you need to get all the rest of the curses.
Acquire all the curses.
Acquire the curses. But you don't want to have the most curses because the person with the least amount of curses wins the game. So the game comes with 12 curse cards, different types of curse cards. If you got the Kickstarter Deluxe version, it has 5 extra ones. So there's a lot of variety because you only choose so many based on player count. Both times we played it so far, we did 4, so it was 7 curses.
7 total, yeah.
Which is a good variety. But there's different rooms that you have to explore. And each room gets 3 of the curse cards. And those rooms also have, for the most part, various powers.
Little powers.
Little powers, yes.
Okay.
And they have different sections. So they have, the first choice has 0 flashlights. And so you get first choice of the card in the room, basically hedging your bets. Like and all the cards in the room have ghost symbols at the top. Ghost symbols,
do I have a
dice
picture of it?
symbols
I
at the
can't remember
top.
if I took a picture of that.
Yeah. Well, you can see them on that card back there with that mask card.
Yeah, there's a room right there.
Yeah, there's a room. So you can see that there's dice on the top. So for that room, when you trigger that room, which is when a third person goes there, you would roll 4 dice. And the dice have the ghost faces on there. So the purple player there is protected from 3 ghosts. So on that 4, if 4 would come up, they would get 1
ghost.
1 ghost, yeah. And you don't want the ghost because the person with the most ghosts at the end of the game gets curses per 2.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
So the person with the most gets curses per 2 ghosts.
That's why there's that shield that you hide your ghost behind. So you never know exactly how many
who has the most ghosts. And there's ways to get rid of your ghost. The first time we played, one of the curse cards was like reduce your ghost by half, and another one was, get rid of so many ghosts. But
usually you have to collect multiple copies of the same one,
same
curse
to
like trigger the power. Yeah.
Okay.
Each curse card has a different value as well. So you don't want those because obviously then you have the most curses, and that's what you're not trying to do. But so you don't want ghosts, you don't want curses, but you're gonna have to take them.
You can't
anyway.
avoid them.
You can't. But like that mask card, the power on that is to once you get so many cards, you can pass your ghost to the person to the right. Grayson kept doing that
Yes.
to our
He
game.
loaded me up with ghosts.
However, I have won this game twice that we played.
And I've done the worst both
Yeah.
times we've played this.
You're so cursed.
Yes. The game is just so cute with all the little ghosts having the different faces.
Yeah.
Like every single one has a different face.
All those little ghost tokens are unique. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's like one of the great parts about it. The glow in the dark dice they're just so cute.
Yeah. Right.
And like the deluxe version also has a wooden planchette for the first player token instead.
It's not the first player token. It's supposed to be like.
Is it not?
Because they say to use it because when you're resolving the room, it's supposed to like remind you who the next active
like
player
an order
is.
thing.
I see. In a way. So the next player token.
So I was just like on that little Ouija board thing. I was just like turning it, pointing towards the person that was next in turnover order after you resolve the room.
Right.
So wait, what else does that Ouija board thing do?
Nothing.
On the backhand side of it is actually the Kickstarter cards.
Yes.
Those 5 different curse type cards.
Gotcha.
The rules for that.
Yes.
So those were the bonus card rules. And
Also, it communicates with the dead.
It does.
Yes.
It's really fun to play with during, before, and after the game. Yes.
I'm telling you, there's definitely a plot somewhere that in a year or two from now, when someone has said that Latin thing for the 1,000th time, I think some stuff's going to go down. I think.
Yeah, I have no idea what it means, but
that's all part of the plan. That's all part of the plan.
Yeah, maybe we should look that up.
And once you trigger a room too, the room tile flips over, so that gives you different rules for the room too. There, gives it different play for each time. And once you're out of cards, then that's the end of the game.
All the curses have been distributed. Yeah. That ends it.
Okay, and then you reveal how many ghosts you have and get more curses.
Yep, or less, or none.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
I should mention that it's by Road to Infamy, which is the same company who did Canvas.
Oh,
so it's that same company. Yeah.
That's 2 very different games. That's cool though.
Yes, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. All right, Eric, you jump for that one?
I almost backed that one.
Okay.
I'd recommend it. It's
cute.
It's simple.
I don't remember why I didn't, but it looks cool now. In all honesty, I can be very dismissive. I probably looked at it. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Oh, wait, that's the box. Oh, that's stupid. That's not going to fit on my shelf.
But it's also the dice tower.
Yeah.
But Eric is so dismissive that he would never have gotten that far to notice that it was a dice tower.
No, I knew it was the dice tower because you see it on Kickstarter, but.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons that we got attracted to the game. Like, oh, look how cute this is.
I didn't even know how it played. I'm like, this is cool components, glow in the dark dice.
I mean, even if that was even if that was just a roll and write game and that was the box, that's still pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think.
And those dice are cool.
Yes.
That was a Kickstarter upgrade?
I don't know. I think the dice, the glow in the dark dice, I think you always get.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
It probably doesn't. It doesn't add anything to it. It's just a gimmicky thing that
probably more cost effective for them to have just one set of dice actually than to.
I would think so. Yeah.
I just like the faces on the dice. I think that
it
doesn't matter that they glow in the dark. I think the cool little faces. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, folks, there you have it. 4 very different, very awesome recent Kickstarters that have gotten to all of our respective tables. I want to thank Missy and Evan once again for joining us on this Kickstarter Day video. And I want to mention real quick, I just remembered while you guys were talking, you recently celebrated an anniversary. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did, yes.
Okay, well, happy anniversary to you guys.
15 years we've been married.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. Excellent.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Well, I want to say thanks for having us, too.
Definitely.
It's always a pleasure talking to you guys, and
Thanks for thinking of us.
Well, of course, when we can make the schedule work, we definitely will try. Yeah. And I highly encourage you guys to go check out their stuff as well. I'll put a link to Evan's YouTube channel in the description for this video as well. They do lots of cool stuff, including, as they mentioned earlier, their current reflection on the ghost of Kickstarter past.
Exactly.
Check that out as well. Yes. That's a good it's a good watch. All right. Eric, anything else you want to add before we pull the plug on this one?
I forgot to mention something about Endless Winter. It comes with, I think it's maybe game trays, but like individual little game trays that hold all the components in a box. And maybe we'll throw a picture up on when you edit this later. But that's definitely a cool looking
Nice.
insert.
That's
a
cool.
bunch
Well,
of inserts,
with all those
Yeah.
components, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need
kind of really
it.
needed. Yeah. Oh, and okay. So now I have a question now for Missy and Evan. Speaking of that, in Keystone, have you been storing your tokens in those two like plastic triangle things?
We
that were in
did.
the box?
Didn't we?
Did actually, because you had them on the board, and
I'm
I was
like,
like,
oh,
"Oh, is
they're
that where
going-
they're supposed to go?" Yeah, we just put them in the little triangles. I mean, we
Okay.
put them in bags too, but
Yeah, well, that's
Otherwise-
right now I have them in bags and then in that
In-
space.
Mhm.
yes,
And I was kind of like, do we need these? But the good thing about it is it's a good spot for the mat to go rolled up. It
Yes,
kinda
Yes,
holds the
right,
mat in
yes.
place
right.
in the middle. Cool.
yeah. The mat fitting in the box is like fantastic because we
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
have like a bunch of mats and
Yeah.
over there,
Yeah, yeah.
like
Hang-
all
hanging
rolled
around.
up. And like I
Yeah.
don't know which one's which, and I got to pull them all out.
All right, humans, there you go. Enjoy those last little tidbits, and we will see you all very, very soon. Till the next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.